Okay, good afternoon. We will now call to order the Pension Stabilization Reserve Trust Board of Trustees for March 24th, 2005. We have the chair detects a quorum, and so we'll move on. We'll call the meeting to order and move on to agenda item number 2 on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the Reserve Trust Board of Trustees meeting for March 25th, 2024. I trust everyone has diligently read all of those, and are there any questions or additions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any other questions? Hearing none, we can do a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, with that, the minutes are approved. We'll move on to item number 3, the review of the annual financial reports of the Pension Stabilization Reserve Trust for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. Brian Derrick, Department of the Treasury, is here to make that presentation. Mr. Derrick, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Before I get into the financial report, just a couple of items of background. The Stabilization Reserve was established as a cost control mechanism for hybrid defined benefit plans, and that was created on July 1 of 2014. Law requires that 4% of covered payroll be contributed to these defined benefit plans, but annually an actuary will determine the required or the actuarially determined cost or ADC contributions necessary to fund each plan. As an example, it might be 2%. When the actuarially determined rate is less than the statutory 4% rate, that excess would be deposited into stabilization reserve funds. Similarly, if the actuary were to determine that the rate was above 4% in the law, these funds would be used to offset the addition of the 4%. Since inception, the actuarially determined rate has been less than 4%. So the posture continues to be an accumulation of monies into these stabilization reserves. In other words, there have been no withdrawals from these stabilization reserve accounts. I will also note that for the first 4 years, excess contributions were deposited into stabilization reserve accounts within the TCRS pension trust. And that in 2018, the separate stabilization reserve trust was created. But since that time, all of the amounts in the separate reserve account inside the pension trust, no additional contributions have been made. The only additions were the earnings on those balances in the pension trust. As of June 30, 2024, and I believe you'll find this on the last page of your packet, the balances of those stabilization reserves inside the TCRS pension trust, 71.8 million state, 82.4% teacher, 3.9 million, political subdivisions, for a total of $158 million of those funds remaining within the pension trust. In the event that this cost control mechanism were ever enabled, these funds would be the first spent. So I'll now move on to the Stabilization Reserve Trust financial report. The Stabilization Reserve Trust became effective on July 1, 2018, as I mentioned earlier. Your packet includes the audited financial reports. I believe that begins on page 5 with the Comptroller's audit opinion letter. I would note that this is an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion from the Comptroller's office. At June 30, 2024, the first financial report you will see is the statement of net position or the balance sheet. If you look at the bottom line there, you'll see that the state balance of assets is $189 million. That can be broken down into $129 million for the state and $60 million for higher education institutions. Those are all one plan, but we do tend to break those out for reporting purposes. Column number 2, $184.2 million for the teachers. Column 3, $25.5 million for political subdivisions electing to participate in the hybrid defined benefit plans, for a total of $398.6 million inside the Pension Stabilization Reserve Trust. I would encourage you to read the notes to the financial statements. There's some really important information in there, but I won't try and put you to sleep. Also, you will see the statement of changes there as well. This shows the additions for contributions, investments, and more importantly, zero deductions, as I have mentioned earlier. If you were to combine all funds within the pension trust and the stabilization reserve trust, you would have a total at June 30 of $556 million available for this cost control mechanism. At June 30 as well, there were about 330 employers represented. And all amounts invested here are invested with the Tennessee Retiree Group Trust right alongside the TCRS, so they're all invested together. One last note, as of December 31st of this year, of 2024, I should say, we added an additional $49 million in contributions and earnings, which brings the total that I mentioned earlier through December 31st, a little over $605 million all in for this purpose. I will also note that stabilization reserve trusts were created for the state legacy plan and the teacher legacy plan, but to date, no contributions have been made to either of those trusts. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'll entertain any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Mr. Derrick. Let's get a motion and a second, and then we'll take whatever questions or comments. Is there a motion on this item to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
Second been moved and seconded. Are there other questions or comments related to this item? All right, then we'll vote on the adoption of this report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Ms. Derrick. Well done. Thank you very much. All right, is there any other business to come before the Board of Trustees? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Been moved and properly seconded, is non-debatable, so we will vote. All in favor of adjournment, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, y'all. Appreciate it. We'll see you next year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.